Hey there. So, I haven't been recording much lately. Been working on my project, as I've said the last few videos. But also, like, when I'm working on my project, I usually don't sit at my desk, which is where I need to be to use the microphone. I usually sit on my bed, just like with my laptop, Indian style. So I noticed that's probably the biggest reason why I haven't been recording as much, because my laptop isn't set up usually. But today I took the initiative to set it up. And here we are, and I'm going to do a reading. I don't know about you, but my ego has been taking some hits. I don't think it's necessarily a collective thing, other than the fact that we are always being guided, pushed, given opportunity to grow and learn. Me too. So anyways, I've been doing it. It's humbling. It's really humbling. And that's actually what my guidance had been telling me, a while back, like talking about humility and stuff. And so to be humbled now makes complete sense. And I think that was probably part of the design. It's like, oh, let's give her this insight about humility and how important it is now, so that later when she's humbled, she at least can rest in that. Like that this was planned. We knew that you would need to be humbled. And I feel like mine wasn't necessarily overt arrogance that needed to be humbled, but it was definitely, oh my gosh, look what came out when I Capricorn, double Capricorn, and I was just about to say it was definitely me keeping control of things for my own safety. And I guess my ego still wants to qualify it like, oh, it wasn't because I think I'm better than people, it was because I wanted to be safe. But the way that I was trying to stay safe is to handle it myself, because I didn't trust others to handle things in a lot of cases. So I've still been working on deeper layers of that, because I know I mentioned that within the last couple videos about allowing people to be, honoring myself, and allowing other people to be where they're at, and honoring them and all that. Which is all stuff that I knew logically, but in practice, my subconscious still had these programs about just fear of chaos, I think, really, is what it boils down to. Fear of chaos. And I would always feel like I handle chaos really well. And it's kind of funny now that I'm healing these aspects. It's like, oh, yeah, I did handle chaos really well, because I became very masculine Capricorn energy, and I just systematically organized and handled. And that was my coping mechanism. And here's the difference. It's like, yeah, that's a good thing to do and stuff, but it'll be great when I do it from a place of, I've taken in the surroundings, I'm considering other people, their input matters too, and now we can create a structure that will solve this. Whereas my method has been sort of taking control of it myself without really getting much feedback from others, because one, I didn't trust them to help or want to help, and two, when they did, it was usually not that helpful in my experiences prior, right? Like it was more chaos. The wound originated in pure chaos, where there wasn't a lot of people taking responsibility for themselves around. So that's what I was reliving and recreating. So my subconscious saw through that lens, right? So it wasn't actually true that other people were always unwilling or unable to take responsibility for themselves, but it's just that I acted as if they were, based on my own pattern that was lodged in from earlier on in my life. So that one has been quite humbling, but also freeing, because opening myself to the idea that other people are competent too, it's like a little bit of weight off my shoulders, So I know I have the skills to take control and organize things, and, you know, that's a great skill to have, but I really do want to do it in a more kind, humanitarian, just like unhurt way, unfearful way. So that's what it's opened up for me, which is, so worthwhile and humbling. The humbling is so worth it when that's the prize at the end, right? I just got Vera Truth. And it's an interesting concept to think about how just in thinking there was no help to be had, there was no help to be had. Just in believing that there was no one that wanted to take responsibility but me, there was no one that wanted to take responsibility but me. Because I believed it, that's what I lived out, So it's just really a matter of allowing my awareness to expand to, the limitless possibilities that exist, which includes the fact that other people may be competent and also wanting to take responsibility. Euphrosyne. I think this asteroid is about celebration and I'm gonna look it up. Euphrosyne. Astrology. I like to put it with regard to astrology in my search so that it understands that I'm looking for like either the mythology or the meaning. As Euphrosyne, also known as Charis or Grace, is often interpreted as representing joy, mirth, beauty, and charm. Yes, exactly. Okay. So it's like without the fear being in the ingredients of the solution that I'm formulating, right? The one that was compelled by me because I was in fear of the chaos. Without that fear, I can replace that ingredient with Euphrosyne. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I don't really care. You get it. And I'm pronouncing all the letters, so you can kind of look it up yourself if you want to research it. But, grace and charm and beauty. And it's like, from that place, you actually can observe and appreciate the beauty of the orchestration, the divine orchestration that is happening at all times. Not only for you to see yourself and what your patterns are, but to see how no matter what level you're at or where you're at or what you're doing or what you're thinking or believing, and no matter what they're thinking or believing and all those things too, it's still a divine orchestration. It's still perfectly designed for opportunity to realize, grow, learn, or stagnate. Or the pattern can be repeated, or the divine orchestration will bring something else that also activates that same fear or pattern or gives that opportunity again and again. It's like a fractal. It's really, really amazing. But adding Euphrosyne in place of fear allows the situation to be handled with grace. And grace does consider the other's perspective, and then it's like a collaboration of a solution for a solution. Let's see what else. Duplicated. Okay, so when this comes up in a chart, Duplicated is certain charts have the houses divided in a way where sometimes one sign will be present in 3 houses. No. One sign will be one sign. How do I say this? This is just notoriously a hard concept for me to talk about, just because my mind gets lost in these. I can picture it on the chart, right? Okay, so for instance, enclosed. That's the word I'm looking for. Enclosed. One sign can be enclosed in... One house can be enclosed in a sign. That's what I'm looking for. In a lot of charts, the house can begin in one sign and end in another, and that's pretty common. But when the house begins in one sign and ends in the same sign, so what that means is that sign has other houses in it, but that there's one house that's like closed off within it. So it's like there's a concentration of that. There's something to be unlocked in that house. Jeez. Let me back up. What I usually say when the duplicated card comes out is there's one thing that needs to be used in order to solve another. Because that's the basic concept of solving a chart that has duplicated and intercepted houses. My chart has this, and I have attempted to study it a few times over the years, but I've by no means become an expert, as you can tell. But duplicated, it's just like the divine orchestration that I was talking about, because the duplicated sign can help you unlock the intercepted sign. Something like that. And so to apply this to this message and the experiences that I'm having in this message that we're talking about today, that I'm delivering, is like there may be something that you don't quite get, right? Like it's not like so clear in your mind that you can talk about it easily. But it's because there's something that you need to utilize in order to unlock it for yourself. It's like you do have a skill that will lend towards unlocking this whole thing and making this clearer. It's just that you have to utilize that skill. Oh. Okay, so I had to start channeling there to even get clear on what that message was. And I'm glad I did, but also you can see how when I was trying to work out the explanation of it, that I was fumbling and stuff, and that actually became part of the message, and I realized, like, oh, this is what it's saying. It's making me play it out so that I understand. And what it's telling me and you in this message is like that there's something, that a skill that you have that can help clarify what it is that you have been struggling to have clarity on, or understand well, or unlock. Maybe you know very well that you need to do this thing, but it's like you don't have enough clarity to move forward or to take a step. And this is saying, like, but you do have a skill. And we had that double Capricorn energy. So it's maybe like, okay, so you have the skill. Oh, I was just saying I have the skills to take control and organize things to come up with a solution. So here's where it's saying, like, oh, you have the skill. You have the skill you need to unlock the thing. It's like, oh, okay. It's just that I've been busy using it to control things when they're in chaos. But actually, chaos is a very desired state. It's where everything new is created from. And this is saying, like, for my experience as an example, so this apply this to your experience as needed, but for my experience as an example, I'll say, there I was utilizing my skills of organization and taking charge, and instead I want to take the fear out of the equation and add in the euphrazine, the grace, handle this with grace and humility, and understand that there are other factors and maybe collaborations that need to happen in order to, like, allow this to exist without the fear, because the fear does get a result that is in line with fear, and it's all still part of the divine orchestration. But this is saying, like, there's a potential here for, like, an upgrade, a growth, handling this a different way. And it's saying to use that skill now, in my case of taking charge and organizing, to use that, and to unlock the thing that's unclear. Okay. All right. What is it that we're working towards? What is it that we're working towards here? Isis, healing. Collecting. Oh my. Oh my. Whoo, whoo, whoo. Sorry, I just have to sit with the realization I just had. Collecting the pieces. Okay, so Isis, the story in the mythology is that Isis is the one who collected the parts of Osiris that had been strewn about after his brother Set, tore him apart or whatever. She collected all his pieces. This is essentially saying that there's an organized way to go about the healing process. I mean, I know that we talk about an organized formula that I offer and use, but this is sort of something I can feel that is something bigger, more. It's like something that involves all the parts, like that includes and accounts for collaboration, human nature, like, because the formula that I offer, it can be utilized, but only by people who can utilize it, right? Like, if you're not in a position to utilize it, it's not going to be the tool for you. But this is kind of just saying, like, you can collect the parts that are needed in order to go on the journey of doing the rest of the work. Collect the parts that are needed first. I'm shaking my head just because I'm like, seems like common sense, but yeah. And also, like, I think when I've learned what I've learned about healing, I've learned it by digging myself out of a hole. So I think this is just presenting it in a bigger picture view way of how it can be more effective for all people, more people. Okay, what else? What are we working on here to solve? Damocles. The story of Damocles is about a king's servant who was envious of the king's position, wanted to be the king. The king offered him to sit in his throne, and then Damocles realized that there was a sword hanging by a strand of hair above the king's throne, ready to drop down on him at any time. And so Damocles didn't realize the risk that goes along with that which he desired. And this sort of hits home as I look at what we're doing, like, as far as we're dealing with sometimes mental health issues, but not in a professional manner, We're just offering tools that people can use for self-help. And maybe this is referring to the risk of doing so. The risk of doing so? Let me have some more. Let's look at this, Spirit. Melpomene. Melpomene is like drama, depression. I'm going to look it up, though. I just feel like I should also look it up. Melpomene. The muse of tragedy. The capacity for deep emotional understanding. So it is with the capacity for deep emotional understanding and the risks that go along with that. Right? Because it's a precarious thing, this human psyche. Different people respond to different stimuli in different ways, different experiences in different ways, different coping mechanisms in different ways. You know, something that could traumatize one person might not affect another person that way. And same with healing. You know, something that works for somebody might not work for another person. I think that this is suggesting that there is a way to work with people, synastry, that's just much more customized. It's much more customized. And caring and consistent. It's like utilizing the care, right? Because, you know, when it comes down to it, most mental health issues are rooted in a lack of care. And, you know, a lot of people might say, well, I'm depressed and my mother cared, and, you know, it doesn't correlate for them. But the same way different people react to different experiences and different people react to different healing modalities in different ways, also different people need different things. So what's generally prescribed as good parenting for one might not be great for another. Like one child might need a real like attentive parent, and while another one needs more independence. And, you know, the synastry here, what synastry is the putting one person's birth chart next to another person's birth chart, right? Overlaying them to look at how their energies interact with each other. And what we find when we do that is we can account for a lot of tensions, misunderstandings, difficulties in communication, power struggles, attraction, commitments, loyalty, care, love. It's all in there in the synastry. And you can sort of match up and see why, oh, well, this person looks at it from this angle and this person's looking at it from this angle. So when they try to come together on that topic, it's a clash. You can see those kind of things in synastry. And so what this is saying is like it's a much more personalized process that is being encouraged through this reading. So in order to give this as a message, I want to say this. So what works for one doesn't necessarily work for another. If the formulas that I've been offering on my channel or the things the insights that I've shared haven't been helpful to you, and at the very least, please do not let them make you feel like you can't figure it out or you can't do it. You know, all it means is like, oh, now I know that person has figured something out And that doesn't seem like it would work for me, but perhaps there is something that could inspire me to work on for me. Like if I tweak it this way, what is it that I need personally in this, you know? It's really emphasizing the importance of making things your own, you know, making the process your own, and to really honor yourself. You know, and in general, like as parents, we have like these magazines and guidelines for how a child should be treated and should not be treated, right? And I think in general, I don't want to like say that that's wrong or bad, but in general, I think that included in all that should be the teaching, the knowing, the understanding that we should trust ourselves intuitively, our motherness, our caretakerness, like that is meant to attune with the child and to see what that child actually needs, you know? And when we're all caught up in our own stuff, it's pretty much impossible to become attuned with the child's needs, because we have unmet needs that are screaming for us, and we're ignoring them. And if we're inclined to ignore our own, then we're probably inclined to ignore other people's. So there is so much intricacy and just like, yeah, I think I just want to say this, and maybe this is just a very humbling thing for me to say. But if ever you've watched a video and I've presented information in a way that didn't work for you or didn't make sense to you, you know, I hope that you wouldn't take that to heart as like you're not able to do it, or, you know, like I hope that you would never use that as a reason to say that you failed, or excuse me. You know, the fact that you tried or was willing to even consider something, that's just like part of the process of healing. And that means you took a positive step towards your own self-care because you decided to take a chance to consider some information, you know? And probably it could have been really triggering, especially when I was expressing through a want to take control and handle it, you know, out of fear of the chaos, really. And not just in you individually, but like in the world. but the world has chaos, and it's part of it. And it's part of the feminine energy, and it's a really important part of the world and life. And it's actually where new creations are born. You know, like birth takes place in the chaos energy. And the metaphor that's commonly used is like the butterfly going into chrysalis, breaking down completely, and then being reborn. It's like that's chaos in there, right? Like it's just soup. So these are important processes that are part of it. And I guess I want to acknowledge, I do want to acknowledge that there is a potential that the way that I've been presenting the information that's worked for me has rubbed some people the wrong way, or not been helpful to some because of the fear element in there, which needed to be replaced with grace, which needed to be replaced with more talk about encouraging you to make it your own, encouraging you to, you know, do what's comfortable to you, and reassuring you that if it didn't work for you, that, you know, it was just a tool that you were trying, right? Because I think I really did present a lot of it with this just like matter of fact, like this is what you do, just do it. And I did feel that way inside, you know. That's why I know that I probably presented it that way sometimes, because I did feel that way. And that's that Capricorn energy. And what happened for me when I was young is that because there was so much chaos, and the chaos was very scary for me, that Capricorn energy stepped up and just started handling shit. and just like took responsibility. Not for my emotions though. It was much, much later in life when I started to do my self-healing that I started to take responsibility for my emotions. Because in the moments of childhood when I was learning to cope in that way, emotions were not honored, and they were definitely not helpful because they were part of the problem that I was trying to deal with. So a lot of my stuff had gotten suppressed, and that's kind of like realizations that I'm having to come to now. Like, oh, it's like nice that I have this skill and all, but the reasons I've been doing it, not so great, you know? And it's good to know that I have that skill, but let's now make sure that I'm using that skill with grace and not with dominance in a way. Like, I think, even though I was pretty quiet about the dominance, I think it's in my energy, like an assertion that I know I'm right. Which I am right for me. But it's really important to honor the other in the process where I'm offering the information. And I hope that it's been, I hope that people did find their way, even if it did trigger them. But I do feel better knowing that what I have to offer will be offered in a more graceful way going forward. Just in a way that really like respects that the other may just be reflecting on what I'm offering in order to adapt it for themselves or to be inspired to something else that might work for them given their circumstances and stuff like that. Because I know that when we are in a wounded place and we're looking for, starting to look for help for ourselves, if you were to come across someone like me presenting in a way that says, just do this, and then you can't do it, then that might actually cause more damage because you might feel let down and like that failed you and or that you're the failure because you couldn't do that. And that is not the case at all. So I think the fact that I took that as my coping mechanism did get me this far. So I can't, on the other hand, I also understand that I kind of needed that. But on this hand, I'm also saying I also need to consider other people at this stage because I can see now what the risk is to do it the other way for others. But for me, I really needed that discipline. It was the most disciplined part of my whole life because I didn't like keeping schedules, and I was just interesting how on the one hand, if other people's chaos came into the picture, I was wanting to take control. But I loved my own chaos, meaning I didn't want to keep a disciplined schedule or regimen in my life. I wanted to be more kind of free-flowing. So it's that was subconscious. I didn't know, chaos energy existed in my life. It's just that if it came through means of other people, I had an activated wounding pattern or a coping mechanism that would come up. And I was not aware that it was really functioning at all. On some other levels, I've dealt with this already in my past videos. You might have seen me mention it, but I'm just talking about getting to the root of it now, And maybe I could never get to the root of it before because it is what managed me and kept me going. I was regimented about doing my shadow work. But that doesn't mean you should be, In Vedic astrology, I have a Capricorn rising. I have Aquarius rising in Western astrology, and I do identify with that more. But when I saw Vedic astrology had me with the Capricorn rising, it did make sense to me. Actually, I did a new Vedic chart as well, and it wasn't Capricorn rising, so I think only some systems, either that or it was so long ago, maybe it was not a good system that I had tested it out on before, but Either way, the Capricorn energy is something that I resonate with. You know, I could see in myself how I was using it, but I have Saturn in the 6th house, so that also makes sense, right? Because Saturn rules Capricorn, and Capricorn is this energy of like structure and order and responsibility. And it was something that I'm learning in this lifetime. We can tell by having Saturn in the 6th house. It signifies a danger of being a workaholic. And so that energy I actually utilized towards my healing venture. And I was like a workaholic, but my work was my own self-healing. And it did get me far, you know, like it's been a trek, because like this healing didn't happen all at once. This has been over 12 years or something. Like, you know, I needed to keep up with it. I needed to keep going to keep going. Okay, I have to go do other things and start my day. I guess this is sort of a vulnerable thing for me to share at this stage, just because I'm still in the process of letting it move out and through. But I knew talking about it would help me a lot, so I did. I talked about it. I don't know if I'll post this. Maybe I'll wait and talk about it again and then post that. We'll see. I will decide. Until then.